Welcome to the Random Green Podcast. Thank you for listening to this amazing story of Gordon Mason Stevens. His life story is truly one of a kind. When you listen to this podcast, you're going to be blown away with awe and wonder of this amazing podcast, because I have an amazing story for you. Again, Gordon Mason Stevens. Gordon Mason Stevens was born in Rapid City, South Dakota on July 31st, 1973 at Rapid City Regional Hospital. He was truly one of a kind person. One of the things that could be an interest to you when you listen to this podcast is the fact that Gordon Mason Stevens went to high school in Rapid City, South Dakota, our primary school, or before university. He was one of those individuals that it's unbelievable. You'd be in awe and wonder after listening to this podcast. If you may or may not know, in Rapid City, there's a high school called Central and Stevens. Rapid City Central High School and Rapid City Stevens. Now you probably would think, well, he would have went to Rapid City Stevens High School. His last name was Stevens. But lo and behold, no. Gordon Mason Stevens went to Rapid City Central High School. He graduated in high school in 1992. A lot of his friends asked, well, you were born in July 31st, 1973. Weren't you Gordon Mason Stevens? So he replied back to his friends. He said, look, I could have probably graduated, but my parents thought maybe, because he said, well, he's still 18 when he graduated. He would be going on 19 in 1992 in July 31st, 1992. He would turn 19, but that was during the graduation. He was 18. But to getting back to the high school, Rapid City Central High School, or they call it the Cobblers, the nickname, and he was a really good offensive lineman for them. Gordon Mason Stevens was 6'6" and 240 pounds. And he was really a good pass blocker and a decent run, really good run blocker and a decent pass blocker. Gordon Mason Stevens was an amazing player. He was really good. And in fact, he was one of those athletes that a lot of the coaches knew that he was going to be good. But Gordon Mason Stevens endured the persecution and endured the hardship of being made fun of, and it's just terrible. That really is, seriously. But his last name being Stevens, they gave him a little grief, like what in tarnation is your last name Stevens? Like, this is the students now saying to Gordon Mason Stevens. What in tarnation is your last name is Stevens? You're going to Central High School here. What in tarnation is that all about? Gordon Mason Stevens said, well, before he could say, before he explained, his last name was Stevens, and he went to Rapid City Central High School. He said to the fellow students, he said, before he could get a word in edgewise, the student said, you know what, we're just kidding. We know that we're just kind of giving you crap. It's kind of ironic that your last name is Stevens and you're going to Rapid City Central High School. So, and it was kind of the joke of Rapid City, or during the Rapid City Central Day. Sorry, I'm eating a sandwich here. So my only lunch I had, or supper I had, But anyway, getting back to Gordon Mason Stevens, born July 31st, 1973 in Rapid City, South Dakota at Rapid City Regional Hospital. He was born in the afternoon at 3:37 p.m. His parents were very proud. I think he was a 7.5 pound baby. But he grew to be 6'6" and 240 pounds, and he was the offensive lineman. He was an offensive tackle, and he protected the blind side. He was a left tackle, and he was really a good athlete. And he was one of those athletes that just worked hard and worked really hard to get to the to be successful at Rapid City Central High School gridiron football. And his senior year, they opened up against Sioux Falls Washington High School, and they won the game 35-14. They played a couple of teams from Wyoming and a Montana team, and Sturgis and Rapid City Stevens, their rival. Rapid City Stevens beat them in overtime, but they did beat Sturgis in the game by like 3 points, but they lost to him in the playoffs. But again, he couldn't do it all. So a lot of times you have to understand that this Gordon Mason Stevens, he wasn't he was the best. It wasn't the best, but he was really good. He was really strong, big. He was 6'6" and 240 pounds, and he blocked the athletes as best he could, and he did a good job. And like I say, they played a team, Cheyenne East High School, and Cheyenne East, that's in Wyoming. Wyoming's a state west of South Dakota, and it was one of those things where when they played Cheyenne East, a guy did a swim move on as the defensive lineman, the defensive end, because the defensive end that went to Cheyenne East High School, he went to the University of Wyoming, which ironically is not in Cheyenne. You think it would be in Cheyenne because it's the biggest city in the state of Wyoming. Casper is the second largest city, but the University of Wyoming is in Laramie. The Laramie and the Wyoming Cowboys. But the Wyoming recruiting staff was so impressed with Gordon Mason Stevens how he's able to win most of the one-on-one battles. And they offered him a scholarship, or actually a partial scholarship. But Gordon Mason Stevens, he was the individual that people knew who he was. People knew that he was a go-getter, and he said, one of his amazing quotes from Gordon Mason Stevens says, "If I don't get my full scholarship, I don't want to go to." No offense, Wyoming coaches. This is a long-winded quote, but a lot of people quoted it, and a lot of the individuals still in Rapid City quote it, and it's even written on the Rapid City Central the record books. It's quoted. Sorry, coaches, sorry, recruiting staff, so-and-so, I want a full ride scholarship. But they encouraged them, please come to Wyoming and we can work with you to get a full ride scholarship. And so Gordon Mason Stevens said, well, we'll see. But if I'm going to get another scholarship from another school, I'm going to take it. That's what he said to the coaching staff. And that long-winded response is like, they made a book out of it. Well, not like a book, but and the Cobblers scroll. Now, I don't know if I mentioned that the Rapid City Central Cobblers that's their nickname. Yes, they're really known for their football, their gridiron football. They're really, really good. Not lately, but in the 90s, they were pretty good. Now, Gordon Mason Stevens, he had a scholarship to Montana, so he took the scholarship to Montana, and he was really good at Montana. He was not the best. I mean, he got to be up to, he put on some weight for the football program, for the gridiron football program to play offensive lineman, and he did pretty good. He started on the team, and he thought he might have got a chance to go to the NFL or get at least a free agent scholarship, or a free agent, not a scholarship. I apologize for saying that. But his scholarship was true, one of a kind. He was going to be uh, anyway at the University of Montana. They're called the Grizzlies. But he also had scholarships to Black Hills State University, where that is located in Spearfish, South Dakota, which Spearfish, South Dakota is northwest of Rapid City, South Dakota. And then South Dakota School of Mines, he had a scholarship to Dakota Wesleyan, Dakota State, and South Dakota State would want to give him a partial scholarship to South Dakota State. Now, South Dakota State is located in Brookings, South Dakota. So, Brookings, South Dakota is on the eastern part of the state, the northeastern, basically the northeastern, not the northeastern corner, but it's more the northeastern part of the state. Now, Brookings, South Dakota, their high school team is called the Bobcats. In '91, they lost to Watertown, which lost to Rapid City Stevens. Not Rapid City Stevens. Okay, Gordon Mason Stevens, as you know, went to Rapid City Central, but he had a friend that played on Rapid City Stevens, and he rooted for them. Rapid City Stevens made the semifinals to play against Huron, and they lost 28-14. Rapid City or Huron played Sioux Falls O'Gorman. They lost 28-0 in the state championship game of the South Dakota Double A 11 man South Dakota, because there's also 9 men in South Dakota. There's 9 man and there's 11 man. Now, if you go a state further south, there's 8 man in Nebraska. I think Oklahoma is 6-man football, but normally the game is played under 11 players on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Now, Gordon Mason Stevens really was excelled through his again, he played defensive tackle, and he had 15 tackles for loss. Actually, 25 tackles for he had 25 tackles for loss, 12 quarterback sacks, and he was really a dominant force in the Rapid City Central defensive line and offensive line. One of the reasons why they didn't win the whole thing and they lost is because the pass defense wasn't the best, and they also, when they did a lot of sweeps, so a lot of times Gordon Mason Stevens wasn't in the right spot. I mean, they did a lot of. It was just a combination of things where a lot of times they had again, it's one player on the team, and again, there's other. They can go to the other spots of the ball, other parts of the defense. And they also didn't have the best pass defense back in 1991. Now that I not mention the 1991, well, I did mention 1991, I believe, but 1991 was Gordon Mason Stevens. It was his senior year because he graduated in 1992. But getting back to Gordon Mason Stevens' friend, who actually played at Rapid City Stevens High School, meanwhile, again, Gordon Mason Stevens, he wants me to let you guys know that he went to Rapid City Central High School and then the University of Montana Grizzlies. He got his degree in business administration, his bachelor's of science in business administration from the University of Montana. Then he completed his MBA, and he is currently working in Rapid City. He always loved the city of Rapid City. It was like he wished the University of Montana was in Rapid City. He actually wished that Rapid City. He said, "You know what? I really." His quoted is one of his quotes was, "You know what? I really want to tell you how I love Rapid City, South Dakota, and this is my hometown." And he got really offended by people that said anything bad about Rapid City, South Dakota, and he's saying he loved the area, he loved the Black Hills, the Badlands of South Dakota that was actually east of Rapid City. You see, east of Rapid City was the Black Hill or the Badlands, and west, well, right in the area was Black Hills. He loved the Mount Rushmore. He loved the the Spearfish Canyon, the Wind Cave National Park. Now, Wind Cave National Park is one of the biggest caves in in one of the biggest caves in the United States of America. That's I mean, there's a lot of things about Wind Cave National Park that uh, it's it's one of those things where it's really good. I mean, it's actually Wind Cave National Park is the seventh largest cave in the United States, or the seventh largest cave in the world, actually, and the third largest in the United States of America. Now, I think the one in Kentucky is uh, uh, just as big, or is the biggest one. There might be, and there's probably there's obviously another one, but Gordon Mason Stevens wanted me to go over all this. He really knows my podcast, and he listens to it all the time. He knows I have a hit syndicate. Well, it's not a syndicated pod, but it should be a syndicated podcast. And I said, look, it should be on iHeart. It should be on iHeartRadio, at least my podcast. It should be on uh, any podcast you're listening to. When you get a podcast section, the podcast is it should be mine. This is what Gordon Mason Stevens is saying. He says, look, the Random Green TV podcast is amazing. The Random Green TV is videos, is live streams, is shorts, is a lot of the plethora of things that's on the Random Green channel on YouTube is probably one of the most. But he really tells his friends out in Rapid City, South Dakota. He says, "Look, this guy is amazing. I really want him to really." And a lot of individuals that are friends with Gordon Mason Stevens, born July 31st, 1973, in Rapid City, South Dakota, at Rapid City Regional Hospital. He wanted me to tell you guys, and they're getting a sneak peek. They're actually listening live. I'm doing this live for the individuals that know Gordon Mason Stevens, who went to Rapid City Central High School, not Rapid City Stevens. Again, it's. I mean, I am repeating myself, but it's like this. It's very crucial to understand that Gordon Mason Stevens, born July 31st, 1973, in Rapid City, South Dakota, at Rapid City General Hospital. See, I want to get this ingrained in it's very crucial to remember this. We're going to have a quiz at the end of this podcast, so hope you've been paying attention. But again, Gordon Mason Stevens, let's talk about his career at the University of Montana, which he really wanted to tell people. It's like, I wish I could have just lived in Rapid City the rest of and he still does. He says he wishes that there was a university in Rapid City, South Dakota, that would have accepted, or would be there at Rapid City. I think there is a couple. I think South Dakota School of Mines, Black Hill State is close. That's in Spearfish, but he really wants the amenities of Rapid City, South Dakota to be there, and he doesn't really understand why Rapid City, South Dakota is not on the map. Rapid City, South Dakota is in Pennington County. He also wanted me to say that Pennington County is a very awesome county, and he really has a lot of pride. And the fact that it's named Pennington, because that's his mom's maiden name, is Henningston. Hennings, which is, when he was younger, he's always said to his Mom, look, I wish your maiden name was Pennington. That would have been kind of cool, because it was like Hennington, like Hennings, but it's Hennington. So it's like one of those things where his mom thought that was so awesome that he was able to be so creative with and so inspiring with the the term Hennington. There's Pennington and Hennington. Get it? So Pennington's, again, the county in South Dakota is where Gordon Mason Stevens lives. Now, Rapid City's in the Pennington County area, or it's in Pennington County, And he really wants people to understand that look, Pennington County is where Rapid City is, and his mom's maiden name is Hennington. And both his parents are from South Dakota. I think his dad's from Rapid City. His dad went to Rapid City Central High School as well. His mom is from Torrington, Wyoming. Torrington, Wyoming is west. Again, West Wyoming. If you're not familiar with the state, the American state of Wyoming, it's one block west. Well, one block west. I mean, it's one state over west. I apologize. Uh, you know, I do apologize for that. But Gordon Mason Stevens really wants me to really wants you to appreciate Rapid City, South Dakota. He wants you to visit there because he's a manager at he does at a medical firm, Rapid City. I think he works for a couple jobs. Well, he works Rapid City. He's got a medical. He's got a job in the medical field. Well, he's got a job at the administration's office. Um, for the Rapid City. Actually, it's he works between he's the middleman between the Rapid City Regional Hospital and one of the businesses in Rapid City where they do business together. And he's one of the top individuals that goes around and he has meetings with these Rapid City Regional Hospital executives, and he's an executive at his place, and he's on the board of directors there, and So, but he really wants, and he still goes to the high school gridiron football games at Rapid City, and he's goes and watches Rapid City Central and roots them on. And a lot of people still know him as like, oh, there's Gordon Mason Stevens. Didn't go to Stevens High School. He went to Rapid City Central High School. Again, Gordon Mason Stevens, one of the most famous individuals from Rapid City, South Dakota. And he was really, at least he should be. He should be one of the top individuals from that area. But Rapid City's Central High School football was a decent team. I think they were had 5 wins and 3 losses, but a lot of those losses, they were. I mean, there are a lot of those wins. I mean, they actually had a pretty good defense. Now, again, the defense was really good that year. They didn't give up that many points. Again, they only gave up the most points they gave up was 28, and that was against Cheyenne East. Cheyenne East had a heck of a team. They had a few scholarship players. One went to Colorado State. The other one went to the University of Montana. Actually, 4 scholarship. The University of Montana, then Montana State University, and then Wyoming, and then Colorado State University. And they had one that went to played at a couple Division II programs across the country. So they gave up 28 points to an explosive offense, and that was ironically Cheyenne East, the lowest scoring point total that year. They beat Rapid City Central 28-7, and that was their worst loss, Rapid City Central, of the season. Rapid City Central was 5 wins and 3 losses, as again they Cheyenne put up the next point total. They scored 47 points per game. The Cheyenne East football team of the 1991 campaign, the 1991 season. But I think they beat a Casper school in the state championship game, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but Gordon Mason Stevens really. That was one of his favorite games is when they played the Cheyenne East. Even though they lost 28-7, he had success against one of the players that went to the Wyoming, one of the star defensive ends that played for the Cheyenne East gridiron high school football team. Now, but there's a lot more to it than just football that he played. When he was growing up in Rapid City, South Dakota. He worked at a restaurant, and he was one of the cooks, and he did a good job. He as one of his accomplishments in life. He remembers working at the restaurant. He was able to really make the food and send it out. He did a good job at it. He really did a good job at the place where he worked at. I think it was called McDonald's or something. But he was a good cook at McDonald's. He really prided himself when he was working at when he was working at McDonald's. He truly had a good time, and when he made those. One of his favorite things to do was make the chicken nuggets, or make the fries too. And then add the sauce. He was add the sauce. He was like, "Man, I love these sauce jars." And he squirted the sauce out, and he's like, "Hey, imagine if I would put extra on, the burger or the Big Mac." He was like, he told his coworkers at work, he was like, "Hey, what if I put a little more on? What if I put a little extra on there? Wouldn't that be kind of funny, guys?" The coworkers just laughed. They were like, "Whoa, Gordon Mason Stevens, you're too much. You're too good. You're too funny." Gordon Mason Stevens, and Gordon Mason Stevens, again born July 31st, 1973, in Rapid City, South Dakota, at Rapid City Regional Hospital. And he was born at 3:37 in the afternoon, and he really, again, enjoyed his time at McDonald's. He said, if it wasn't for the pay, he probably would still be working there. But every once in a while, I'll go back to the McDonald's is still there from the 1980s and 1990s when he worked there at high school, because he worked there. He put his time there. He really liked it. He really liked that place, and he says he always brags about that place where he worked at. He's like, "That's my place I worked at. That's the McDonald's I did. I was telling my coworkers about adding extra sauce to it, just joking with them about adding extra sauce to the Big Mac." And everybody was just blown away with awe and wonder. That was it's like, how do you even come up with, it's just, he was one of those creative geniuses that could just come up with anything right at the spot. It's like, "Hey, what if we gave extra fries here, huh? What do you think?" The manager would get mad. He's always kind of playing with the manager at the McDonald's. He never told me what name the manager was, but I think it was, the manager at McDonald's was saying, "Look, Gordon Mason Stevens, do you, he corrected him. What he said to is Gordon Mason Stevens, the manager, that's working at McDonald's, said, "So you go to Stevens High School?" And the coworkers had to hold Gordon Mason Stevens back because it was an insult. Because it was it's kind of like, oh, the Gordon Mason Stevens says to the manager, "Look, what do you think? Just because my last name is Stevens, you think I went to Stevens go to Stevens High School? Do you think I go to Rapid City Central High School? Don't, please take it back." And the manager's like, "Yeah, you're right. I do apologize. That was one of those things that it was my fault. I do apologize, Gordon Mason Stevens." This is the McDonald's manager. He's saying, because Gordon Mason Stevens is 6'6", and he's really tall, probably more 6'7", and he was really coming after him. And the manager was only like 4'10", 4'11". I mean, he was like he was a short manager, and he was about, probably 5 feet, 4'10", 4'11", 5 feet range, and the Gordon Mason Stevens is like, "You don't ever say go to Rapid City Stevens High School. Take it back." And he said, "I'm not going to hold it back. Even though you're the manager, I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you what's up. I'm going to tell you what's up, manager." He just was, what he was going to do. He wasn't going to do anything mean. He was just going to go up and point the finger at his manager and say, "Look, if you say Rapid City Stevens High School, don't say that. Say Rapid City Central High School." And the manager was relieved, because he thought like Gordon Mason Stevens was going to go tackle him. And, Gordon Mason Stevens being a giant, human being, it was like a really, really one of the most athletic offensive lineman ever, slash defensive lineman at Rapid City Central High School. Like I say, the manager was like, "Oh, I'm glad you weren't going to come after me and do anything mean." And it's like, well, Gordon Mason Stevens says, "No, I can't. I only do that on the football field, within reason, within reason, within reason." And he was saying to the manager, "Look, you don't have to worry about me being mean to you, but I'm gonna talk to you in a stern way, a stern way, and say, look, you need to understand that I went to go to Rapid City Central High School, and we're the Cobblers, not the Stevens. Did I mention the Rapid City Stevens Raiders? Their nickname's the Raiders." But that's why Gordon Mason Stevens is not a Las Vegas Raiders or a Texas Tech Red Raiders or a Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders fan, because, again, the Raiders were one of those programs he didn't. Well, it's like this. Anybody that has Raiders in there, he automatically roots against, because at the same time he loves Rapid City Stevens High School because it's in Rapid City. And but he went to Rapid City Central. He has to show loyalty to Rapid City Central by being loyal to Rapid City Central High School. So, like this, he was a big fan when they won the Rapid City Stevens Raiders high school football program won the state championship in 1987, 3-0 over the Sioux Falls Washington High Warriors. Ironically, when Washington beat Rapid City Stevens at the last game of the year in 1987 in overtime, 20-14. That game was 14. It was Rapid City Stevens lost that game, but that propelled Sioux Falls Washington in the high school football playoffs, high school gridiron playoffs, and they went on to beat Sioux Falls O'Gorman 17-7 and Watertown 21-3, but before losing to Rapid City Stevens 3-0 in the Dakota Dome in Vermilion, South Dakota. Now, ironically, Vermilion, that's where the University of South Dakota was at. And Gordon Mason Stevens always said to his parents, he says, "Ma and Pa, I don't know why. I wish that I wish the University of South Dakota was in Rapid City, South Dakota." And his parents had to sit him down and say, "I know you're heartbroken about that, but Gordon Mason Stevens, this is what it's about. Not everything can be. We have a lot of good things in Rapid City," they told him. And Gordon Mason Stevens told his parents, "Look, I love Rapid City, South Dakota. I want to live here forever. And if I could have immortality, it would be he could stay in Rapid City, South Dakota, and not leave the city limits." That's what he says. And a lot of times, when his friends or something want to go to outside of Rapid City, Gordon Mason Stevens says, "Look, I've been on enough. Been in a lot of years when I was at the University of Montana. I was outside of Rapid City. Now, look, this is Gordon Mason Stevens talking. He says, look, I want to stay in Rapid City. I don't want to leave the city limits. If they expand the city limits, then I can go a little further." Because a lot of times, some places they expand the city limits if there's room, or, and there was room, and he really wants people to know that he really loves Rapid City, South Dakota, and he's still even writes poetry about the town he loves, about Rapid City, South Dakota, Rapid City, and like I say, it's one of those things where he really wants individuals to appreciate Rapid City, South Dakota. It's closer to the beautiful part of Rapid City. You have the Black Hills. You got a lot of times he will go to Sturgis. Well, after his friends convince him to go to Sturgis. Now, he gets out of Rapid City, but it's like every time he leaves the city limits of Rapid City, he gets out of the vehicle and say, "Bye, y'all. I love you. I love you very much," to the city of Rapid City when he's leaving. And he goes to Sturgis, like the Sturgis bike rally, and he likes to go there and watch the individuals drive their their motorcycles. He's always had a kind of a fascination for motorcycles, and he's too he's too concerned about if he gets on a motorcycle that it's not really safe, but it's like one of those things where if you like it, you'll ride a bicycle or a bicycle. I apologize, a motorcycle. He does have a bicycle, and he always pretends to be on that when he's on the bicycle. He's like, yeah, I'm on a motorcycle, Yeah. He's like vroom, 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 and a lot of the people like, whoa, yeah, you're pretending that's a bike. They're like, hey, Gordon Mason Stevens, but they don't know who they know. Well, actually, they do know who Gordon Mason Stevens is. They say, hey, Gordon Mason Stevens. And they see you're trying to rev up the bicycle, the motorcycle. LOL, right? Is you're on the bicycle, you're on the motorcycle, and you're on the bike, you're on the motorcycle, but they're pretending that he's on the motorcycle, just playing along with him. And Gordon Mason Stevens like, yeah, I know, but I just, I'm just pretending to be on a motorcycle, and I'm really not. I know that I just kind of, and they're saying, Gordon Mason Stevens, you're too much. You're amazing. Your wit, your humor, your everything about you, Gordon Mason Stevens, is amazing. And for he did get a free agent scholarship to play at the Tennessee Titan. Well, that was the Houston Oilers or the Tennessee Oilers. So he went. Getting back to when he went to the University of Montana, he went to Montana in 1992, but he redshirted his freshman year. And then his true freshman was 1993, sophomore was 94, junior was 95, and senior was 96. So he did get so 97 is when the Houston Oilers moved to the Tennessee Oilers. Now they're to the Tennessee Titans. But he had a scholarship, or not a scholar, he had a free agent to play when he was with the Tennessee Oilers in 1997 when he was there. A lot of times they played at different stadiums. They played at Vanderbilt and was it not Nashville, or Vanderbilt's in the city that they're in Tennessee. But he didn't play. He got cut. He didn't make the final roster of the Tennessee Oilers of 1997. But he was really upset, and he told Jeff Fisher, "Look, there's going to be some time when you're going to be playing the St. Louis Rams, perhaps in the Super Bowl, and you're going to come so short, and I'm going to laugh." And they're like, "Whoa, what?" And Jeff Fisher has this written down. If you check out his records, Jeff Fisher, he has it recorded too that Gordon Mason Stevens said that. He says, "No, Gordon Mason Stevens said to Jeff Fisher, he said, no, look, I'm just kidding. You're not gonna, you probably, you're gonna be the Tennessee Titans at this time." He's like, "Well, Tennessee Titans, we're the Tennessee Oilers. Now we're gonna go to the Titans." So that's one of the reasons why this is actually before he got cut. This is so he was able to really see the future in a way. He was able to do that, and one of those things where Jeff Fisher he didn't. Well, Jeff Fisher said to Gordon Mason Stevens once. He said, "Now I know Rapid City, South Dakota. You didn't go to Stevens High School." And then Gordon Mason Stevens, being a person, he said, "I went to Rapid City Central High School." This is what he said to Jeff Fisher. And Jeff Fisher's like, you don't have to give an attitude like that. And I think that's part of the reason why he didn't make the Tennessee Oilers /Titans roster is because of that. His attitude, he's just like people, because he kept on talking about Rapid City to the players. He's like, I'm over here in Nashville, Tennessee, but I want you guys to know that I really love Rapid City, South Dakota. I went to Rapid City Central High School, and I want you guys to know that." He was just him telling the teammates that he's like, "Look, Eddie George, please, if you want me to block for you, I want to block for you," because he was an offensive lineman too. Got drafted. He got a chance to be an offensive line. Again, he grew. He did. Did I mention he grew 2 inches while in college? He got 2 inches taller, so he's 6'8" now, 6'8 and a half, and he was well maybe 6'9", but 6'8 3/4. I apologize, 6'8 3/4. I guess 6'8 3/4. And the coach he told Eddie George, I'll block for you, and you know he was like, but please, because Eddie George knows about Rapid City, South Dakota too, and he said, do you go to your last name is Stevens? I know that there was a couple high schools in Rapid City. One was Central and one was Stevens. Do you go to Stevens by chance? And then again, he told Eddie George, he said, Eddie, don't even go there. And then Eddie goes, what? What'd I say? What's the big deal? But again, Gordon Mason Stevens, being a person of principle, he says, look, I'm a person of principle. And you saying I went to Rapid City Stevens when just because my last name is Stevens doesn't mean I went there. I went to Rapid City Central. And Eddie George replied, said, look, it's an honest mistake. Sorry, didn't. And then Gordon Mason Stevens, he was almost in tears, but you can imagine the pain and suffering, the agony that he went through after, how many times people are saying, because you hear Jeff Fisher, the coach, saying, did you go to Rapid City Stevens? Eddie George, you go to Rapid City Stevens? And it's just like too much. And one person can't handle that much. He's only human, So it's like you look at Gordon Mason Stevens and you see like a freak athlete that could probably make the NFL, and he would have, but and a lot of times, and one of the more reasons that I think Jeff Fisher knew that he saw that in Gordon Mason Stevens is that he was homesick. He wanted to get back to Rapid City, South Dakota, and talk to people about Rapid City, South Dakota, in Rapid City. And, even when he went to Sturgis and Spearfish, he wanted everybody to know that he was from Rapid City, South Dakota. Born July 31st, 1973 at Rapid City Regional Hospital at 3:37 in the afternoon. He also wanted the people to know that he works as a business consultant in Rapid City, but he said, my best job was working at McDonald's, and he says to the individuals, if I could, I would work at McDonald's, but I need to make more he needs to be constipated. Sorry, compensated more, paid more. I could have just went paid more. I apologize, not constipated. There was one time he was, and he took he took some meds for that, and he got it. But he was, like I say, Gordon Mason Stevens was one heck of a guy. One heck of a guy. He still lives in Rapid City, and again, these individuals are listening to this amazing podcast live at the Random Green YouTube channel, Random Green TV, where there's podcasts, live streams, videos, shorts, and soon to be a store, releases, and courses, and all the things that you go to the home, you have the community and video, shorts, live, community, all that good stuff. And I'll soon have all that stuff on there. But I tell you what, this is an amazing story, a really life-changing story. It's one of those things where you just don't forget. You're at the edge of your seat, and don't keep on going. Please don't stop, Random Green. Please keep on mention more about Gordon Mason Stevens, born July 31st, 1973 at Rapid City General Hospital at 3:37 in the afternoon. And he worked at McDonald's. He was an awesome high school gridiron football player at Rapid City Central High School. To this day, he's upset about that, and he goes to and a lot of times he goes to the games where he goes to the Rapid City Stevens and Rapid City Central High School, but he always goes to tells people when he's at the game, he's like, look, my last name is Stevens, Gordon Mason Stevens, and I didn't go to Stevens High School. You think I would have, but ironically, I went to Rapid City Central High School, and I played at Rapid City Central High School as an offensive lineman, and I played at the University of Montana, and then I was going to get make a roster spot at the Houston Oilers. But Jeff Fisher and Eddie George didn't like my attitude. Well, Jeff Fisher didn't like, and Jeff Fisher knew what was best for me. I could be playing I could have played in the NFL, and this is him saying to other people, and he would say to the individuals, he'd say, "Look, I would have been a future NFL Hall of Famer, but well, probably not NFL Hall of Famer. He probably would have just been a backup, but." Again, for the purposes of this, we have to, the purpose of this story is to educate you too, and not just tell you what you want to hear. Gordon Mason Stevens really wanted me to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And he says he knows a lot of people can't handle the truth, but like I say, ironically, 1992 was A Few Good Men. Now, A Few Good Men was where I just said, you can't handle the truth. One of the actors on A Few Good Men said that. And again, Gordon Mason Stevens was really happy that the year he graduated at Rapid City Central High School, not Rapid City Stevens, Rapid City Central High School. He's really proud of the fact that 1992, he saw at the Rapid City movie theater. I don't know what the movie theater was called, but he saw that movie at the Rapid City movie theater and was really impressed. He's like, whoa, I graduated in 1992, the high school, the same year that this movie came out. That's absolutely incredible. And really, it's truly amazing. And he really wants, he's learning all the time. He's getting better with everything. And that's just a snidbit of his amazing life in Rapid City, South Dakota, and Missoula, Montana, where the University of Montana is at. And he really loves Rapid City, South Dakota. The bottom line is he wants everybody to know that he loves Rapid City, South Dakota. He went to Rapid City Central High School. He was, again, Gordon Mason Stevens, born July 31st, 1973 at Rapid City Regional Hospital. He wants you to know that he is doing well and wants to thank everybody for listening to the Random Green Podcast.